Aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper?
What's up, nerds? Welcome to another episode of the Multiverse Report. A very special episode, I might add. Tonight we are recapping the season finale of Star Wars Ahsoka, from Peridia to Dathomir and everywhere in between. My name is Mike Gibson. With me as always is Steve Haller. What's up, Steve?
Well, we just watched a finale of a TV show.
We sure
and we're
did.
going to talk about it live with a bunch of our friends.
Yeah, a whole bunch.
And by a bunch, I mean two.
Two. Please welcome to the Multiverse Report. Recurring guest is the word I was looking for. Couldn't think of the word. Recurring guest, Matt Beseda. What's up, Matt?
What's up, guys? Hi, Mike. Hi, Steve. Is this a Star Wars tablecloth?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a gaming
space.
cloth, but yes.
There's stars.
That's pretty cool.
It's actually branded, too.
Oh, wow. Look
Yeah.
at that.
And
It's from Star Wars X-Wing.
also, welcome to the pod for the first time, long-time listener, first-time guest, Mr. Adam Karki.
Long-time listener. Thanks, guys, for having me.
Yeah,
I
thanks for
appreciate
being
it.
here.
Absolutely.
Been listening to you while I mow the lawn for a long time. Happy to be here in person.
Adam's a big Star Wars fan and lightsaber builder, so we wanted to have him on a very special Star Wars-themed podcast, Ahsoka, season finale. We literally just finished watching it and ran down here to talk about it. The Jedi, the Witch, and the Warlord. A very funny
Yeah.
episode title,
Yeah.
I would think. Clearly a reference to the C.S. Lewis book line, The Witch and the Wardrobe. I don't know. General thoughts, guys. What do we think? This was like, there was a lot that could have happened in this episode.
Yeah.
And we were all pretty much on the same page that not everything that could happen was going to happen, and that was certainly the case. They ignored several storylines
Right.
blatantly.
It almost was a direct opposite of what I expected. I expected us to tie up the Balin and Shin stuff.
Right.
Agreed.
And yeah.
Leave the Thrawn stuff more
Right.
kind of open-ended. I kind of, if I was going to place a bet, that's what I would have said
100%.
as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, general thoughts. It looked great.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
It did what it needed to do, and it sets up a lot more that they can do in the future. But yeah, it was a cool episode. There was a lot of high highs in a fun ride. I thought it was a lot of action, which was cool.
Oh, yeah.
Like last episode was more like storytelling, and this was way more like,
Fighty.
fighty and swordsy and ships and stuff, and it was cool.
Right.
Yeah, that was it was great. I can't wait to get into the details.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Matt, initial thoughts?
Matt and Adam are sharing a microphone because we had some technical difficulty, so
Yeah.
bear with us, listeners.
It's almost like we're singing the weight.
It's gonna be a lot like that.
That's very in the weeds reference to people who don't
Yes.
know us personally.
I thought it was terrific. It was left very open-ended in certain storylines, but you can see where they can build off what they have now. And I thought it was terrific. Yeah.
Yeah. So where do we start? We start with
Well, let's go hard spoiler. Like,
yeah.
We were already there, but if you are at this point and you did not realize we're spoiling things,
Yeah.
we're spoiling literally anything in Star Wars up to this point. So
Correct.
good luck with trying to stay spoiler free.
Yeah.
Um,
If you have never seen any Star Wars thing ever, and you're decided to make this
Yeah.
episode of this podcast your first thing, it's going to ruin everything. So stop. You made
Yeah.
a bad choice.
you could be
Go
like
watch
my
A New
wife.
Hope. Yeah.
My wife literally watched episodes 1, 3, and 8 of this
Yeah.
show.
She seemed like she had a lot of questions.
Yes, I will be fielding many questions for
Yeah.
the foreseeable future.
I love at the end. She goes, "No, I get it."
Yeah. I get it. What was up with all the witches? Well, if you watch the rest of the show.
Well, then I guess you don't get it. Quick shout out to my wife, who's jealous that I was able to watch this episode tonight. She was not able to watch it and won't be able to watch it for the next few days. But thinking about you, babe. Sorry, I just missed it. Can't wait to watch it with you at some point. So, yes, we're going to spoil the hell out of this thing. I feel like so much happened. I can't remember where we started. Where does it really
We
where does it
literally
start?
started with the shot of the Chimera, and I like the opening shot of the show. I got chills because it was like And anyone who's listened knows I'm a hardcore Legends guy, like been following Thrawn
Yeah.
since time. That shot of the Chimera was just like, yeah, it's real. It's
Yeah.
a thing.
Yeah.
It's such a cool ship.
It
and
really
it's
is.
such an imposing and distinct thing. And it was a great way to open up, especially like because it opened up from the back and you
Right.
got to see
The
like,
full
the engines and the full
Yep.
mass of it. It was really,
Yeah.
really a powerful shot. I forgot all about that because
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
like waiting to dive into like
Yeah.
the Hu Yang like
And it-
lightsaber thing.
Yeah, well, that's coming up quick, and
Yeah.
it was cool. Like, and I'll jump ahead a little bit. Like, it's very imposing shot of the Chimera,
Uh-huh.
and it reminded me of Andor, my other favorite Star Wars television show. In that it took a real less is more approach, where contrary to what some of the movies do, which is just okay, how do we make it more? Well, we add more,
Right.
right? Let's in Rise of Skywalker, there's just thousands of Star Destroyers that all can blow up planets, right? So like, but it doesn't really like, I don't know, there's not as much weight to it, even though there's like so much more. And there's one Star Destroyer, but because there's one Star Destroyer,
Right.
it feels more imposing. Like that scene in Andor when they're out camping in the middle, they see one TIE fighter
Mhm.
and they're terrified.
Right.
And they should be, because when you see one TIE fighter from that perspective, you're like, oh, TIE fighters are terrifying.
Right.
So like the fact that there was one Star Destroyer and we got two TIE fighters in this episode, and
Yeah.
still they were like very imposing. There was more weight to it, I guess that's what I'm trying to say. And I thought it was really great.
I agree. It reminded me not of Andor, but of Rogue One,
Sure.
where they're in Jeddah.
Yes.
And
that one Star
the one.
Destroyer.
that one Star Destroyer was just sitting there,
Yeah.
and we're used to seeing Star Destroyers in space, and you know,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
there's
you
really
don't
no
see the
way
scale.
to to scale, and I thought that was very cool
Yeah.
as
An
well.
in-atmosphere Star
Right.
Destroyer is something to behold. Yeah.
Right. So the Chimera's, to get into the ultra nerd weeds,
Class 1.
Mark II, Imstar Mark II,
Is it?
Imperial Star Destroyer Mark II. They're 1,600 meters, so they're a mile long.
That's crazy.
Jesus.
Like it's a ship that's a mile long. So you put it in perspective in atmosphere, and it changes the whole scale of what you're like. It's like, wow, this is large.
Yeah. Wow.
So that also shows you how big that monument or tower or whatever.
Sure. Yeah, that
was.
fortress was. Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess because that was the opening shot, was that over the fortress, and we see, for lack of a better description, you see Morgan Elspeth get knighted.
Yes. Yeah.
And it with an N, not a K.
Yeah. She's ascended.
Yeah,
She ascends to rank of knight,
knight,
full knight,
sister,
witch,
mother,
sister,
knight mother.
mother, sister.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which-
both through magic and through the now like gift of a weapon.
Yeah,
Yes.
Right. And Steve, you were the first to like kind of explain a little bit
You
about.
knew
Yeah.
who that blade was referencing.
So-
I was like, I know this name.
So
but
they said the Sword of Telzin,
yeah,
and immediately brain goes to Mother Telzin. And when we're watching the episode, I didn't realize. I'm sitting there going back and forth. I'm like, I don't remember Telzin like wielding a sword. And I pulled up Wikipedia, and I was like, oh, in Clone Wars when she fought Mace Windu, she conjured that sword.
right.
So
Dooku.
Windu,
Windu.
yes.
Windu. I thought it was when Dooku was there on Dathomir. It's when she fights Windu.
Is it? Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I don't remember
Hmm.
at all. Matt,
I
any
don't know.
thoughts?
For all the Clone Warsy that you've taken in over the years.
I will say I had an inkling of her fate when she made that ascension. And
Oh, me too.
yeah. Which sort of disappointed me because I thought her and Thrawn were this awesome power couple.
Yes, I liked her a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I liked her as a
and,
villain.
and I thought, okay, this is kind of cool having two people
Yeah.
as the big bad, you know.
Until she was like invited to ascend as a Night Mother or whatever, I was under the impression that they were going to be some like duo evil team
Mhm.
until the point where Elsbeth decides to try to take him out, or over like classic like
Right.
dark side or Sith behavior. Like I assumed that she would
Agreed.
betray him at some point, but no, because I mean, if as we find out at the end of this episode, she don't make it.
Right.
Yeah.
So all that theory's just shot down.
Well, that went to shit real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think all of us were in the same. It's funny how a lot of the theories I think a lot of us had in our brains going into this just got Swiss cheesed very quickly.
Yeah.
Some did, and some came to fruition too, like with some of those stormtroopers,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
Yeah, so that I guess
it was cool.
what I could gather and what I was taking from what we were seeing with the night troopers was that what we saw were actual troopers,
Yes.
but they knew their fate was going to be to go in, be sacrificed, and reincarnated.
yes.
Okay, so
Yeah, that's what I thought so too.
That's
To
how
the
I was
point
reading
where
that.
possibly, like, I remember when we first saw them, you and I were talking about how they had the red wrapped around their
Yeah,
armor, and I was thinking maybe that's just like, well, because they're in league with the Night Sisters, they're
Yeah.
showing some kind of fealty or whatever. But now I'm thinking like, oh, that's what was able. That's
To
that's
let
what
them
helped
be-
them make the connection with
Yeah.
them in order to like resurrect and be like, yo, you should all wrap this around your
Yeah.
armor
just in case.
in the event we need to resurrect you as a zombie stormtrooper.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody else watches with closed captioning on, or if just because I'm the oldest person in the room that I do. But they actually refer to them as night troopers,
Yep.
like with the
Yeah,
CC.
Thrawn called them night troopers tonight.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah,
think,
But like a couple episodes ago, they
Oh.
did, like
Oh,
when
yeah.
they were
Never
first
noticed that.
introduced.
Yep.
So, and I was like, oh, are they right? Are
Mhm.
they already like possessed,
are
or
they
are
now,
they
or-
going to be in
Right.
the future?
Will they be?
Either
Yeah.
way, very cool, and I love the way they paid it off. I
Yes.
thought it was smart.
I agree. Yeah, it was very cool. Something that needed that much setup in order to like feel earned, I guess. Like it felt like if you told me that in episode 2 of a Star Wars show, there's zombie stormtroopers, I'd be like, are you fucking kidding me? Come
Right.
on. But like
which was kind of my wife's reaction.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, because she hadn't
Right, she
seen
hadn't
the whole
seen any of
setup.
the
Yeah.
setup.
And because we've seen like things happen in Clone Wars and
Right.
in Jedi Fallen Order, like we've
Right.
seen all this stuff happen in canon before.
Mhm.
So the fact that we get such a lead up and we don't get the zombie stormtroopers till the last
Right.
episode is like, oh yeah, no, this makes sense. But I don't know. It's like a way, like I feel like it's the second time I've slammed Rise of Skywalker so far, but like
If anyone's listening to this and doesn't know our brand, then that's our brand.
But like I feel like in something like Rise of Skywalker, it would have been like, hey, there's zombie stormtroopers. You don't need to know why they're here. You know
Right.
what I mean? And would have been like, that's dumb and you don't unearned. But
Well,
like, yeah,
Similar to those red Sith troopers. We didn't know where they came from,
yeah,
Yeah.
or why they're Sith
Right.
troopers, or why they're
Yeah,
red.
they just are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're just there. It's
Yeah.
fine. Actually, Matt, from your standpoint, since I know like the three of us have all watched all of Clone Wars and Rebels, I know you're a little more limited on what you
Bits and
consumed
pieces.
of Clone
Sure.
Wars. Did you get a little of that, or enough of that to know like the Dathomir connection and that sort of thing, like with the Night
Yes.
Sisters?
And luckily I'm a weekly listener to the Multiverse Report, so
Thank you.
I I pick up things
Right.
as well. And let me just say, although I'm not fully caught up on Clone Wars and Rebels, I have seen a Star Wars film 43 times in the theater, so I don't want people to get the wrong impression.
Correct.
Yeah, he's legit, people. He's
Yeah.
legit. Let him in. It's
I
okay.
mean,
No
there-
gatekeeping.
There's a reason we bring him in for May the 4th this year, and
Yeah,
yeah, he's on the list.
Yeah.
But yeah, that I'm glad that held up, because even the aesthetics and how they made the CGI look for when you see pieces or whatever, especially the two troopers that Ezra and Sabine are fighting.
Yes.
You see like part of the face exposed, and that looked exactly like the jaw of the Night brothers that were reincarnated in
Yeah.
the Clone Wars. And I was like, the attention to detail on that was great.
Yeah, that was really cool. Really cool.
It's very interesting to me how much of a chess player Thrawn is.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, you got to keep watching Rebels, dude.
yeah.
Oh,
That's
dude.
where it comes from. Yeah.
He could have sent a whole fleet of TIE fighters, but
Yeah.
he sent 2.
Yep.
You know, you didn't need to send more. It got the job done.
Yeah, he knows.
In that moment, and I was like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for any Legends fans, Matt just started listening recently to Heir to the Empire.
I did.
So
Oh,
he's
cool.
diving down the rabbit hole.
Oh, you're jumping in.
Which it'll be a fun one for you.
In 1995, my grandfather bought me that book, and I read a page and a half of it. And in 2023, I am on page 3.
See, it's a tale of two cities. In 1995, that's what sent me down the rabbit hole. So.
Sure.
You're taking your first step into a larger world. Speaking of things that would not have been included in.
Wait, hold on.
There we go.
Well done.
Speaking of moments that would not have been included in a movie like Rise of Skywalker, there was a great character moment in the beginning of this episode where we see Ezra building a new lightsaber, and he's looking for pieces around the ship, and Hu Yang helps him to find what he's looking for, which is a emitter that matches the emitter used by his master, Kanan Jarrus, Caleb Doom. And he even says, like, I've only ever had 2 of these pieces. Kanan took one of them, and I held on to the other one in case he ever needed it again, so it's fitting if it goes to you.
Yeah.
And Ezra, they spend enough time with that scene letting Ezra recognize, oh, wait, you knew him.
Right.
You knew this guy that means so much to me. And because at first he's kind of blowing him off. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And at first he's kind of blowing Hu Yang off, like, whatever, I don't have time for whatever you're saying.
Which is so perfectly Ezra, too.
Yeah, for sure.
Like,
and
the way he was going about it just felt so Ezra.
Yes, which was, I mean, why it's such a character moment, because it doesn't move the plot forward at all, other than you see that he's going to be using a new lightsaber.
Right.
But that scene could have been like that. Like, it could have been an off, like, Sabine could have been like, oh, Ezra's in the back making a new lightsaber. You know what I mean? But, like, the fact that they give him that time to reflect on Kanan and have him make a connection with Hu Yang was just a great scene, and it was a great payoff for a lot of Star Wars fans, that specifically Rebels fans, and Clone Wars fans, because Hu Yang is a big character in Clone Wars later seasons. So I don't know, I love that moment, and I think that Star Wars is at its best when it allows those moments to happen, and not when it's just like rushing through. Like, we got to we got to play the hits and get through this to get to the next thing or whatever, you know. So. I don't know. I just thought that was a great Star Wars moment.
Yeah, I loved everything about that moment with the the lightsaber building, and then he says, it's such a powerful moment in the building of it, and he's so proud of him, and he said, you must have been a great student. But the other part that made that scene so strong was Sabine watching it.
Yes.
And her difference in her experience with her master.
Yeah.
Right. And I am the first person to be like, I didn't want Sabine to have force powers.
Oh, yeah.
Because I believe, like, I personally, my opinion is that I think it cheapens her character a little bit. She's a great Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm.
She is a former member of the Imperial Army. Like, she's
It is-
techie, and she has such an amazing array of other things that she is. She doesn't also need to have a laser sword and have force
It is a
abilities,
little bit of a hat on a hat.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, you have everything.
It's like a hat on several other hats.
You know who else was a Mandalorian and a Jedi? Like Tar Vizsla. That's it. Right? Like,
Yeah.
in
Literally.
a zillion years.
Yeah.
So I thought
They
it,
fought wars to
Yes.
avoid this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
which I thought was a very cool duality to that, in the closeness that Sabine and Ezra have,
Yeah.
but how far that makes them, how much that also makes them different in
Right.
their experiences.
Yeah.
So it was great to see how, how proud Ezra was, and how wonderful and how kind of easy it came to Ezra. And then also how difficult that was for Sabine to see,
Yeah.
and how it doesn't come easily. And then there's a payoff later in the episode, which is a really wonderful moment. And I was like, okay, like, you earned it.
Yeah.
You can have,
Yeah.
you worked really hard for just that.
Right.
We'll give it to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so
it was all I could think of was it was the perfect Wampa Cave moment.
Yes, exactly. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
What I was thinking.
Also, I just had a bit of a Force epiphany. Look down, and in standard Rebels fashion, there's a Lothcat sitting here staring
Oh,
back at me.
I think that's a crystal critter.
Oh, from okay,
Because
yeah,
this is the very last
reference.
Jedi.
Gotcha.
We are all except Matt drinking a beer called Space Monkey from the brewery Pressure Drop, and it's called Episode 8, The Last Space Monkey, and it's clearly a Last Jedi themed can or a themed label. And we thought it would be appropriate for a Star Wars chat tonight. So
And it's delicious. So thank you, Mike.
it is delicious.
Absolutely,
You're welcome.
it
You're
is.
welcome. I saw it and I needed to bring it tonight for sure.
Perfect.
So where are we at?
Well, I don't know.
I don't remember what happened. We bounced around a little bit. We had talked about Morgan's ascension already.
Okay.
And so then I think that's when they send the TIE fighters.
Yes. Okay.
And
I love how the T6 is just sitting there escorting the turtle.
The Ninja Turtles?
snail-
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. The not so ninja turtles.
Not so Ninja Turtles is great.
Yep, that's exactly what they are.
Yep.
And it's just going like so slow.
Uh-huh.
And then he goes, "This is gonna slow us down a bit." And I was like, "Slower than not moving."
You mean slower than moving at a turtle's pace?
Yes,
Right.
Ezra?
so slow.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's funny, but it's also appropriate because they know that they're in danger and
Oh,
they're
yeah.
like going to take the brunt of the fire, and they do,
Oh, they
They
do.
sacrifice their ship, and it's cool because I feel like a lot of times, again, in the movies, you see TIE fighters so often that you often think of them as like disposable,
Mhm.
like, oh, this is the obstacle that the X-wings are going to blaze through before they get to the Death Star or whatever. They're going to
Yeah.
get through. They're going to blow up all these TIE fighters before they get to Starkiller Base, which
Right.
is the real thing, But in this, it's like two TIE fighters take out their ship.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh, okay, no, we're in trouble.
Right. And Sabine, like, see that I thought that was very well done too.
Yeah.
In the sense that they leave Sabine at the helm and are like, hey, figure this out, and she figures it out.
She does. Yeah.
Like those TIE fighters both go down.
Yeah.
So does the T6.
Right.
So
But the TIE fighters needed to go down. If they didn't, but if the TIE fighters didn't go down, they would all be dead.
correct.
You know what I mean? Like if
Yes.
they sacrificed their ship, then all those not so Ninja Turtles would be dead.
Right. It was the right move.
Yeah.
It just makes the Skyhopper hop less
Right.
in the sky. So yeah, it's I don't know. I thought it was very well set up how they did that.
I agree, and I like Ezra and Ahsoka immediately knowing they have to hold the ship up
Right.
to save the not so Ninja Turtles.
Yeah. no,
While Sabine takes the helm. Yeah.
Yep.
cool use of force ability
Yeah, for sure.
in display of that as Sabine makes a decision. It was
Yep.
kind of cool.
It was cool.
So Hu Yang fixes the ship and
Yep. While Thrawn
can-
knows that means that they're in for a ground assault.
Right.
Because he knows they're not going to give up just because they
Right.
don't have a ship anymore. I thought that was cool. Insight.
so we get a nice montage of them sprinting and running and
Yep.
And then they have, what do you call them? Horse rat dogs?
That's what I call them,
yeah.
horse rat dogs. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
And then
that's,
we
I think
have
that's,
It's the
I think that's
technical
the
term.
official
Yeah.
name now. I think
Howlers,
Lucasfilm was on board with that. No.
Probably the working title was horse rat.
Horse
dog.
rat dogs. We need a animal, but I don't want it just to look like a horse. What else can we add to this
Yeah.
thing? Maybe
Let's
some
also make it look like a rat.
a
You know what?
rat?
It needs a tongue and to act like a dog.
There was like three
Okay,
writers
let's-
that couldn't agree on what it should look like, and they're like, "Fine, we'll make it all.
Just go with
We'll
it.
do everything."
You know what they're never going to let us do? A thing that looks like a horse and a rat.
And
a dog.
Right.
2 days later. You're never going to guess what happened.
You won't believe this. We got it. Matt's got
I
something to
just
say.
have to mention Hu Yang really grew on me.
Keep watching Clone Wars. Buddy.
Yeah,
Yeah, dude.
throughout
Yeah.
the series. And Star Wars, I was laughing a second ago because I was thinking Star Wars is 10 for 10 on droids. Like every droid they've made, except for one, Dio, who for some reason had anxiety and
Yeah.
what's the droid in Andor, the little box thing? the red-
B2EMO.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
B2 emo.
and
Yeah, he's the best.
K2SO and
BB-8 for God's sake.
well, BB-8
Yeah.
is my favorite droid.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Over R2D2?
absolutely.
What?
Yeah. Well,
We've just learned things today.
yeah.
BD?
Yeah.
Oh, BD1 is
BD1 is
excellent.
amazing.
Yeah. BD1 is great.
Have you played the Jedi Fallen Order games at all?
So
I feel like you're not much of a gamer.
I'm not much of a gamer. I borrowed a Xbox for a month from Amazon, and I they had a 60-day return policy.
Sure, I get it. We all figured it out.
And I got as far as I could, but I loved.
Gotta put it on story mode. Don't even worry about
yeah,
it. Just
I
easiest
loved
possible.
Battlefront 2.
Well,
I think,
Battlefront 2 is
From
great.
your standpoint, what you could do is on YouTube they do have all of the cutscenes.
Yeah.
And you can basically watch it like a movie.
Yeah.
Like,
that's not a bad idea.
There's not a whole hell like you can hit all the story beats from watching the cutscenes.
Yeah.
The rest of it's just like fun slashing things with lightsabers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But if you hit, if you ever want to like see the story and see how BD is just the coolest droid ever, it's worth taking a look at. Between actually Fallen Order and Survivor, both I think up on.
Oh
YouTube,
yeah, I'm
so.
sure they are.
Nice.
I'm sure they are. Adam, what's your favorite droid?
Oh, that's a great question.
Only because Matt brought it up.
I think. So I'm initially, I don't want to say anti-droid because that doesn't sound right.
What do you
It is.
Mandalorian?
It is
Or
Mandalorian.
or Han Solo.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Also, no droids. I am not as big a fan of R2 and C3PO
Oh, wow.
as most of my friends.
All right.
I mean, R2 is the hero of the entire saga.
Correct.
Yeah, but everyone skips over the droid episodes. So
Okay, Meeber Gascon is not the hero of the entire.
I'm just saying.
Now, if I can interrupt for a second, one of the reasons that might be the case is you were introduced to Star Wars and watched it originally in a much different order than most people. Am I right in saying that?
That's true of people my age, of my peers.
I don't think I know this about you. What was that?
So I come to Star Wars not from the original trilogy. I come to it from the prequels.
No way.
Yeah.
Yeah, which explains like my love for Anakin and Vader. Like I
did
lean
you-
dark side.
Okay, did you see the prequels before you saw the original trilogy, or you saw them all at the same time?
I'm sure at some point in my life I saw like a New Hope or whatever,
Yeah.
like as a kid,
Right.
but I didn't like actively seek out a Star Wars and enjoy and like connect to those movies
Yeah.
until I was in high school and Phantom Menace was
came
coming out.
Wow, man.
So
Wow, I, did not
fell
know
in
that.
love with Star Wars the same time I fell in love with like Harry Potter. Like all those things were the same time for me.
Yeah, yeah.
So like I'm Anakin because like I see the whole story arc.
Right.
Like it is the tragedy of Vader.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like what it's supposed to be.
Right.
Stormtroopers aren't always bad guys to me.
Yeah, that was the biggest hurdle for me in liking Clone Wars was being like, you're trying to make me care about all these troopers that I've just grown up thinking are the bad guys, and now you want me to care about this guy that's wearing the same similar armor? Like, no.
Right.
And it took me a long time before I gave a shit about Captain Rex or anybody.
yeah.
For real. Like,
And you
he's-
go through that,
Yeah.
and it's like now I have a Captain Rex Lego bust on my shelf because
Yeah.
he's the best character
Yeah, he's great.
around.
Yeah.
So
And
so
then
they're
rewatching it now
Oh,
with
yeah.
my son. I'm just like, oh, now I'm fully in. But
Yep.
I was like really
Oh, the
pushing
first time
against
I
it the
watched
first
it,
time I
I'm like,
watched it. I was like,
how do
I
you-
don't care about these.
Right.
They're evil, and they're going to become evil at some point and start killing all these Jedi.
But there's me at 17 watching Phantom Menace, right? And all of a sudden there's a guy with red and black makeup
Yeah.
with horns with a double-sided lightsaber
dope.
who just like puts a line in the sand.
And
I'm on his side.
Yeah.
Like the whole
yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
and
I'm
then
with that guy.
then John Williams goes full badass.
Yeah. Yeah. That was all I could.
Yeah.
Yes. I was.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's my favorite Star Wars. So like
Wow.
that
That's your
is
favorite Star
where
Wars
I-
movie?
No.
Oh,
But
okay.
that is like my favorite. No.
Scenes, yeah.
Certainly
Good.
not.
We're still
But
friends.
I love that. And that's also like my introduction to kind of the whole thing, right?
Right.
Is Sith and Jedi to me are Qui-Gon and Darth Maul.
Yeah.
They're not Obi-Wan and Darth Vader, which
Vader.
is a different relationship.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, for sure.
Right? So yeah, I don't know. I come about it differently, which is a weird way to say I think my favorite droid is
gonna say.
BD1. But I'm a fan of the show, so I know how like you can go on a tangent.
Yeah.
BD1 is your favorite droid. from Fallen Order.
That's, yeah,
I
can see that.
think
I mean, that's a good
BD
pick.
is probably my favorite droid. If it wasn't going to be BD, it's Chopper.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Chopper's probably my number 3. R2, D2 has to be my number 1. Nostalgia only. R2 and 3PO are
He
my
can
top
fly
2.
sometimes, and he doesn't fly other times when he
Chopper's
should
number
fly.
3.
Right.
I don't know.
BB-8's number 4.
You know what other droid wasn't great? Now that I think of it, and what's her name?
He's great.
Vivian Belair. Is Belair her last name? Young Leia in
Oh,
Obi Wan.
okay.
I mean, she was tremendous.
What's
her
that
little-
droid's name?
Lola.
Lola.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just
Oh,
needles.
I liked Lola.
Yeah.
I mean, she's not in my top 10 droids or whatever, but she was fine.
Move to plot point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm gonna
Favorite droid, Steve?
someone or one that
I
nobody,
promise you,
one
we
that
will
nobody
get back to
knows.
talking about the season finale of Ahsoka in 1 second. We just
One
need
that
to
nobody
know.
knows. HK-47.
Oh,
from
from
Knights of the Old
Republic. Yeah, I know.
Yes, you are all meatbags, and now we're gonna go back to Ahsoka.
I only know that because I follow a Twitter account called HK47.
Oh yeah,
who
is
talks-
it utterly hilarious?
He just comments on other people talking about Star Wars and saying why they're wrong. Most of the time.
That-
It is,
yeah,
it
that
is pretty
sounds right.
hilarious. yeah.
Steve, I thought you were gonna go with last year for 2 years ago for Secret Santa. I got Steve a Gonk Droid shirt.
Oh yeah,
Oh, gone.
it's,
yeah.
it's right in that drawer right there.
Nice.
That's my random drawer of nerd shirts for the podcast.
Nice. I see the Ahsoka one over there too.
Yeah.
See, this is what's great about Star Wars. There's 4 Star Wars fans sitting around this table. We all have 4 different favorite droids.
Yes.
And I love that about Star Wars. And I love that about us. I gotta say. All right, so totally forgot where we were in the episode. But ground
Hu Yang.
assault. Okay, ground assault. Hu Yang's fixing the ship. Ground assault. Possibly the best line in the episode from Grand Admiral Thrawn. We will not negotiate with the apprentice of Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought that was. It was just such a badass line. Like,
Yeah, like he knows what he's in for. He knows what
Yep.
he's up against. He's like, no, it's
we
not
will
going to happen. There's
negotiate
no
with the
point.
apprentice of Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah.
yeah. so
It
cool.
was fantastically delivered.
And before that line, he said, "Rain fire down upon them."
Yeah.
I mean, hellfire.
Hellfire down,
down
upon
upon them.
We will not negotiate with the Prince of Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah.
Wow, badass.
okay.
Awesome.
And all of a sudden, those hollers had the abilities of the Jedi riding on them, and they
Oh,
were
yeah, yeah, yeah.
dodging
Yes.
everything.
Yes.
Sorry, right before that, there was after the 2 TIE fighters were taken out, there was one very subtle moment where Thrawn lost 1% of his composure, and
Yes.
he made like this
Yep.
this
Yeah.
twitch
Awesome.
in
Lars
his face.
Yes.
Mikkelsen,
Great call.
killing it.
Great
in this
call.
episode.
I kind of felt like I was getting never before in this series until this episode tonight. You guys can laugh at me if you don't get this. I'm looking at Thrawn and I'm getting Elon Musk
Yes,
vibes.
I was just
okay.
gonna say Blue Elon. I was getting the same
Okay,
thing.
yes,
Alright.
dude. Yes.
was-
I think it was the hair. I don't know what it was. It's like the forehead into the hair. I'm like, he kind of looks like a blue Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Right. One of them's a badass, and the other's Elon Musk.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
He's,
yeah.
he's a giant
yeah,
blue check
I
mark.
totally
Yeah.
get what you're saying.
One of them's a super genius.
Yeah.
Right.
The other one's Elon Musk. Yeah. Okay. So yes, badass order and line from Thrawn.
That's true. And speaking of cool lines, I don't know if this was before that or after that, but I actually mentioned this out loud while we were watching the show.
Yeah.
There was a line about said about a lightsaber. And it was something about just because you have a lightsaber doesn't make you a Jedi or
Yes.
whatever.
Yep.
And that was almost verbatim of what Kanan said to Ezra
Oh,
about
cool. yeah,
wielding a lightsaber doesn't make you a Jedi.
right.
And like that was another important line that if you knew Rebels,
Yeah.
sorry, it's like a nice little Easter egg.
Oh yeah.
And if not, it is still a poignant line,
Still makes a lot of sense.
right? And it pays off down the line for Sabine to know that like
Yeah.
that lightsaber does not make her
Right.
a Jedi or not.
And we even saw that in the last episode where Ezra's fighting without using a lightsaber.
Right.
Specifically, he says, "I don't need a lightsaber. The Force is my weapon," or something.
yeah,
like that,
how did you feel about that? Because the only other like real force wielding person
Yeah.
who doesn't use a lightsaber is Palpatine.
Well, he does use a lightsaber in Revenge of the Sith.
Well, very mockingly. I mean, it's all blinged out too. But
But no, I mean I liked it because he did one. He also didn't have a lightsaber, or he didn't feel connected to the lightsaber that he used to have because it was Sabine's now. So I thought that all made sense.
Yeah, the read I was
But
getting
I'm also
on it-
glad he made a lightsaber in this episode.
Yes,
because-
very much so. The read I was getting on it was like the situation they were in, he thought Sabine could make better use of it than him and that he didn't need it.
Right.
So it was kind of like an in the moment, like, you're going to need that more than I am. I can handle this.
But also, like in Rebels, we get a very specific explanation from Kanan when he's working with Sabine about how the Jedi forms a relationship with the crystal, with the blade. And if this blade has been with Sabine for years
Right.
at this point, then Ezra probably doesn't have that connection with it anymore. Sabine probably has more of a connection with it than Ezra does at this point. So I
Which-
understood that.
Did you notice that Ezra, when he made his new blade, what color his blade was?
Yes, blue.
yes.
So he did the opposite Luke.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, he went from green to blue.
Yep.
Yeah.
But wait, was his first lightsaber blue? The staple gun lightsaber?
Staple
wasn't
gun
staple
saber
gun
is
lightsaber?
green.
Is
I
it
thought
green?
was
I
green.
think it's
Oh,
green.
okay. I'm wrong. I
Is
thought
it
that was
green,
blue,
blue,
and then he
green?
got a green one,
No,
and then he
green,
went back
blue.
to blue.
Blue,
Green,
green, blue.
Blue.
Because they're
The
not
staple
both
gun-
this.
Right. The staple gun might have been blue, and then the
thought it
other one
was.
was green, and then back to blue.
Kanan's is
Kanan's is blue.
blue all the time.
Right?
Right?
No, is Kanan's green? Jesus.
All right, so his
Great
saber,
audio.
his
We're the
saber
worst.
itself, his saber itself.
I take
is,
it back. We're all terrible Star Wars fans.
The saber hilt is green and chrome, and
Yep.
the blade itself is blue.
I
on
believe
Kanan's.
Kanan's is blue. Yes.
So I believe that the staple gun saber is blue, and then
But
his
then when he
second
builds his
saber
new one,
is
it's green. Yes.
So the third one's blue.
Yes. So
Great.
he goes back.
Yeah.
Glad we figured that
Glad
out.
we figured it out. But speaking of lightsaber colors, I have to say, because we're moving into the ground assault portion of this episode, which one, awesome, super badass fighting the whole time, whether we're using blasters, zombie stormtroopers, whatever, non-zombie stormtroopers. My favorite part of this entire ground assault was the fact that we got 3 Force users, 3 Jedi, calling, Sabine, whatever.
Ahsoka, whatever.
call
technically.
Ahsoka.
Ahsoka,
yeah.
whatever. You're correct. All 3 of them are different colored lightsabers. That was my favorite part. That they have different colored lightsabers because they talk about this on Star Wars Minute a lot. So shout out to that podcast, which is way more famous than this one. But one of the guys, they're talking about Rise of Skywalker right now, makes a great point that at the end of Rise of Skywalker, Rey, Kylo Ren are in a room that is blue. It's lit with blue light, with blue lightning coming down, and they're both using blue lightsabers. Like, you could have made one of those a green lightsaber or
Couldn't have-
something. Like,
couldn't have
come
had
on,
something here.
man. Like, it's just
Yeah.
boring when there's 2 lightsabers and they're the same color.
Yep.
It's boring. So, like, red versus blue, great. Blue versus blue, boring. So this was blue, white, and green, and I loved it.
Right.
Immediately.
Yeah.
Loved it.
There's a scene in Rebels when Maul and Jarrus and Ahsoka. It's with
The
the
temple scene.
holocron. Yeah, the
Yeah.
temple scene when they go up against all of the
Inquisitors,
Inquisitors,
yeah.
and it looks the same way. It's all red on one side, and then it's all different, and the contrast is so cool.
Yeah.
It's so interesting.
2 things with that. And then after the Exegol scene, you go to Tatooine, which is a planet full of sand, and she has a yellow lightsaber. Just saying.
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
Wait,
You're
hold
not
on.
wrong.
What movie are you guys talking about?
Rise of Skywalker.
Your
favorite one? It's your-
doesn't
it's-
compute
it's
that
your
that
favorite
actually
one.
exists.
It's
yeah.
the one that you love the most.
The one that I've tried multiple different ways to watch and failed miserably. Yeah,
you
that one.
just gotta take a deep breath. You just gotta let it go. You just gotta be
Very
like,
off topic.
took-
this is
I took
pretty.
a lot of deep breaths that night. It still didn't help.
a lot of deep breaths and a gummy.
Yes. Very off topic, but more in topic because we're sort of talking about Rise of Skywalker. Have you read? It's a great read. The supposed draft
Yes.
for
Colin
Doing the
Trevorrow?
That was way better.
No, I haven't read it yet.
Oh, it is fantastic, and some of the supposed art Ray with the double bladed blue.
I've seen that,
lightsaber.
yeah.
Oh, you mean the thing that would have made sense because she wields a staff through the whole goddamn rest of the movie?
Yeah, but we say that, and it could have still been bad. We
Oh,
don't know.
oh,
We
no.
would have been like, oh, they should have brought JJ back.
It could have been bad.
You know what I mean?
But it would have been less Pierce fan service.
I agree.
But whatever.
I agree.
Either way.
It would have been less of a movie made by a committee.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
Like I just want a vision.
committee.
That's all I give a shit about. Just
Sorry,
give me a
making
good
more
movie.
Star
That's
Wars
good.
references. Yeah.
That's good. The other thing with
That was
that
JJ Abrams. saying.
that showdown with Sabine, Ezra, and Ahsoka is I feel like they are all different levels of Force users.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Sabine abandons her lightsaber pretty quick. Well,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Ahsoka
Ahsoka at
tells her,
one point,
says
yeah.
it's like-
Sabine blasters. Yeah.
yeah,
What when she's getting peppered with blaster fire? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's probably a good point.
Yeah. Let's diversify a little bit here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that brings up a good point, Matt, that there are different levels of Force users. I want to bring up two things. One, there's a big, huge, long battle scene, right?
Yeah.
Early in the scene, I thought it was very Disney level of violence.
Mm-hmm.
Lightsabers early in the season can go right through someone.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They can show that. But this was like very pulled punches. They were not showing a lot.
Yeah.
As the battle went on, it got much more visually pleasing.
When
Yeah.
the
When they were
stormtroopers became zombie stormtroopers.
yes,
Yeah, yeah,
once
yeah.
they weren't people anymore and
Yeah,
they
yeah.
were
Yes.
zombies,
Right.
Yep.
they were allowed to treat them in a different way.
Yeah. Okay.
And
now
I
we can be-
thought that was different. But I mean, I noticed in the watch. But I mean, come on, those are laser swords. They should cut them right in half the first
yeah.
time.
Yeah. For sure.
Either way, super
and,
cool. I
like,
kind of
A
wanted that.
couple of them did, which was nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
The Ezra. Okay. After I believe during the show, I made a point of why the hell in Star Wars can no one just hit a button to close a door? They have to slash it with something or shoot it with
Because
something.
it's cooler, Steve. It's cooler.
And after he said that, Ezra did that like 3 more
Yeah,
times,
exactly.
and
But
which was very funny.
There was
Yeah.
one point where he did that, and like either right before or right after he did that, he literally like gutted a zombie trooper,
Yes.
and it was like, oh, okay, they can slice through things. It's
Yeah.
not just like nicking the armor or something. It's like, okay, this guy just got his hey, how do you do from Ezra.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then, oh, sorry. Go
No,
ahead.
You go ahead.
Okay. And then they move the battle forward, and it's just Ahsoka. This is before she gets to her one-on-one battle, and it's her basically against the entire clone troop or the entire troopers.
Yeah.
Right. Did anybody else feel the rebels again,
Yep.
Rex
Yep.
again?
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah.
going up against them to
Yes.
prepare herself for that.
Yeah, like Tales from the Jedi. That yeah.
And it was that's right,
Yeah.
exactly what it's from.
Yeah.
Thank you. And it was so just easy to watch that
Yep.
and
Oh, yeah.
go, oh, they
She
set
can
it up
do this. Yeah, she knows how to
wonderfully.
do this.
I wasn't even you can't be worried for it at all.
Yeah.
No.
She can take out all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very easily.
Yeah.
But why can't she take out Morgan Elsbeth? I
Well,
feel like
so
the
they-
treatment of Ahsoka is being a little underpowered.
Well, they at least set that up back in Mandalorian when she fought Morgan Elspeth before.
Yes,
because
Morgan
Elspeth
Elsbeth
had
is
the
the Beskar spear.
right.
Yeah.
And she's a talented fighter.
Right.
Yeah.
Whatever you want.
Yeah. So and now she's got assumedly upgraded Night Sister powers or Night Mother powers, plus a badass Night Mother sword.
Right, like a
So-
lady with a white face touched her in the eye. She's got to have better
of course.
powers.
So that obviously
Sure.
means she's better at sword fighting now.
Poked her eyes out.
I didn't
and
vote
got
for
better at
Of course. Of course.
Thank you for getting that reference.
watery tarts lobbing
So-
swords at people. It's no foundation for a system of government here, people. Come on.
No,
Moistened bint.
oh, we're
So,
really
uh,
mixing our metaphors
yeah,
here.
no, I'm trying to not go down a Monty Python rabbit hole.
Oh, I
Um,
was thinking The Simpsons.
So, but yeah, so they
Sorry,
ascend. the-
I can't get over the fact you used rabbit hole with Monty Python.
Yeah.
My brain just was like holding like 5 references back.
There's so many.
You're right. It is the rabbit. So they ascend the staircase.
Yep.
They run into Morgan. Ahsoka takes her on and lets Sabine and Ezra continue on.
Yes.
Sabine and Ezra go up, and they fight their own troopers, which we get, speaking of Disney-level violence, we get, well, it's looking pretty bad, and then Sabine finally figures out how to use the Force, and this is that moment you were referencing
Yep.
earlier,
Correct.
the Wampa Cave
Right.
moment, where she needs to use it in order to save her own life,
Right.
and so it works.
I am going to die.
I am going to die unless
or
I
I can
feel the
pull
Force.
this thing through.
Yeah.
Yep.
So she does, and she ignites that lightsaber directly through the head of the stormtrooper
Yeah.
that's trying to kill her. And then immediately following that, she's able to distract the stormtrooper fighting Ezra so that enough that Ezra can get his lightsaber back and decapitate the stormtrooper that he is fighting with.
Just behind one of those stone things.
Yes, very conveniently.
And then we see the helmet just
Yeah.
roll out. And it's like, oh,
But we know there's
Okay.
a head in that helmet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
sure.
Just like Attack of the Clones. We know Django's head was in that thing.
Oh,
Which was dope. And then
still a better movie than you people give it credit for.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree.
Yeah.
It's a better movie.
Yeah, I watched it.
Then what?
Rise
It's
of
a better
Skywalker, at
movie.
least.
Yes,
disagree.
100%.
Disagree.
Well,
0%. That's not what we're
If
talking
anybody
about.
wants to hear that, please go back to our May the 4th episode where we talked with Matt and ran down everybody's top 10.
Yeah,
For like 3
11.
hours.
Yeah.
it's
It
a
was a
Star
long one.
War. No one's gonna love them all.
I can't.
Not the same.
Never mind. Steve and I have an idea for a spin-off
Yeah.
series, which I'm very excited about
Mhm.
to get off the ground. Star Wars related. I'll tell you after the podcast is over. We're still
are we-
formulating.
Are we to the jump throw from Rebels?
I
Clone
believe that
Wars?
we are through to the Rebels jump throw.
I
Yes.
love all the Rebels.
Yep.
Like
Yeah.
little Easter eggs, and this is a big one, right? This used to happen
Yes.
all the
time. And I think this is the first time in live action that we've seen this, because I
Might be.
feel like in Rebels was the first time they ever actually started using the Force to really move people.
Yeah.
No one else has really done that before, and I
Yeah,
feel
I
like a lot of like non-Star Wars people are like, well, Jedi, why don't they just lift themselves up so they can fly or whatever? And
Yeah.
just like, I guess I don't know the real answer to that, other than like, it would be weird and it wouldn't fit.
They
I
don't
was-
fly now.
I was planning on having a.
Don't fly now.
Not yet.
I thought I had a. That's not how the Force works drop, but I don't.
man.
Well, there's there's not exactly flying, but there's force jumping.
Well, sure.
That is,
Yeah.
Obi-Wan.
But you would think if you can lift an X-wing out of a
Mhm.
swamp, you could be like and just make yourself float around.
Sure.
But that would be like too much, right? It would be too much. Like I don't want to see a Jedi fly like Superman.
Maybe it's a Sith trait. We see Snoke do that. To Rey.
Well, he levitates another person. That's what I'm saying.
yeah.
Like I think it makes more sense to be if you can move anything else, you should be able to lift a person, but not yourself. You know what I mean? Like you shouldn't be like, oh, I can fly now.
It's
I can fly now. There it is. So I like that they use it in Rebels. It was the first time they've ever like it was Kanan and Ezra a big thing. Like you jump and I will push you the rest
Yeah.
of the way. Yeah.
yeah. It's also I think a smart way of showing like the trust in each other
For sure,
and
yes.
in your abilities in the Force.
Yes.
And that Sabine had
And-
seen them do that in Rebels. too.
Correct.
Mhm.
But takes a huge trust on Ezra's part
Mhm.
to do that with someone who has just used the Force for the first time ever 30 seconds prior to
because-
move a lightsaber
Right,
to
because
save
we
her
would
own
have
life.
seen we would have seen what we thought we might see.
Yeah.
Because legit, the way they set it up, I was like, and it was again very Rebels. Like Ezra looks like he's not making it, and
Yeah.
I'm like, oh okay, well that's how they set up. They get stuck here. Is they try the thing and it didn't work,
Yeah.
and lo and behold, he just barely hung on.
Yeah. He doesn't
As-
make it the way they wanted to make it, but he
Right.
still makes it.
Right.
And I think it also speaks to Sabine having confidence in her. Like, I've tapped into this now. I know how to do it
Right.
again. And I know how to do it again. So I know that I can do this.
Mhm.
And she does, which is great.
Yeah, because she's like, you need to hurry up because it's getting harder every second you
Yes,
wait. Like,
yeah.
let's do it.
Which was
now.
I love that she said that because I was thinking that.
Right.
I was like, do this now because it's getting more impossible.
already
and
not
she,
good
like,
at
said
this.
what I was actually thinking. I was like,
Right.
okay, great. Thank you for acknowledging this.
It was also we get that comedy bit where we don't think he made it,
Yeah,
and it's really only, I would say, the second time where they use the Force for comedy. And what was the first one I just said? Oh, when Ray's Luke is training Ray.
Oh yeah, reach
and,
out.
And he
Has a little
yeah,
reed
he
or whatever. Yeah.
flips the
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a grass.
I can feel it.
And it was great, and you totally thought
the
that they're
Force.
playing the John Williams cue, and then it's wah wah. You know, it was great.
Yeah.
But similarly, we got the Back to the Future 2
Yeah.
treatment.
Oh, yeah, because we get because the plan is I'm gonna throw you and then you pull me aboard, Ezra, and so we see Sabine turn around and see Ahsoka, but then seemingly say no, I have to be with Ezra, and runs towards the Star Destroyer. But then in a great turn of events, Morgan Elsbeth saying to Ahsoka, "You're gonna die here alone." We hear "not alone," and Sabine is there. She has returned to save Ahsoka, which I think is excellent.
Yeah.
Yes. And they have a great battle where Ahsoka badassedly takes out Morgan with a slice to her belly with her sword and her lightsaber, with Morgan's sword and Ahsoka's lightsaber, with both of them.
I think that was Sabine's best moment of the series, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
Like,
being there for Ahsoka.
Yeah, it was like, okay, she's getting it. She made the wrong decision with Balin. That started this whole mess.
But even
Right.
so, she's here now, and she's feeling like,
Oh,
I
Balin.
came here.
Balin's a thing.
Yeah. I came here to save Ezra. I have. He's going home. Now my responsibility is to my master. Yeah, so I agree with you that
Yeah.
that's a great decision on her part.
Yeah, that whole scene was super cool. Ahsoka loses her Shoto, right? Like now
Yeah.
it's gone. She's
Yeah.
down to one lightsaber.
Yeah.
Sabine comes in, and then it set up what I thought was going to happen, which was my theory on what was going to happen in the show, and didn't happen, right? Because what did Ezra do in the first place?
Yeah.
He tried to take Thrawn away to eliminate the threat. So I'm like, okay, this is perfect. Ezra's the only one on the ship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bing, bang, boom. Everything's sat back. Like he just takes it out again.
That's what I thought was going to happen too.
I know. And I was like, oh, they set it up, and I didn't want it to happen, but it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
And it didn't.
They didn't. Yeah.
Oh, because the next part's great.
Right. But then they do, like you said, and I thought the same thing because Sabine and Ahsoka run as the Chimera Star Destroyer is starting to blow up the fortress.
Yep.
They leap off of the thing, knowing that the ship is going to be there. We, as Star Wars fans, all know the ship is going to be there
Mhm.
also because we've seen it before. Rey does it in Rise of Skywalker.
Kanan and Ezra do it
Kanan
like
and Ezra
17
do it a
times
bunch
in
of times in Rebels. And also, but watching that, I was like, I'm pretty sure the first time I ever saw anyone do this was in Back to the Future 2.
Yeah.
So I love that you just said
Yeah.
that as well, because I had the exact same thought when Marty does that in Back to the Future 2 with the
And
DeLorean
Bev's
picks him
got
up.
that.
So then the fortress is destroyed. Sabine, Huyang, and Ahsoka start chasing after the Chimera. I'm not sure what is their goal here to they're not going to try to shoot it down.
I was kind of trying to figure that out of like,
Just
are
to
you
try to,
trying to
like,
get in the
Get
bay
into
so
the
that
bay.
you can,
Yeah, the
like,
hangar. Yeah.
take the jump with them or whatever?
I thought they were trying to do something similar to Empire Strikes Back, where Han puts the Falcon
Oh yeah.
on,
Lands on it.
y-
Sure. Yeah, that
lands
could
on
have
it
worked.
to,
Yeah.
And then just release with the garbage and float
Yeah.
off. Like, fly casual.
Oh, great! There's Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Did-
that could have been it. I really
Did we just lose your channel?
What's that?
Did you turn your mic off?
I did not turn my mic off. I don't think.
Yeah, you did. You
I
picked it
did?
back up.
Oh, I might have nudged it. I didn't think I
Yeah.
did. We're back on though.
We're back on.
Okay, good. I did really like because they're unable to catch the Star Destroyer, obviously, or do anything of note. But I really did like the visual of them being caught in like the wake of the Star
Yeah.
Destroyer
Yeah,
as it
like
took
a
off.
So like jet
wavy-
wash.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was like really cool. Like we've never seen that before. The Star Destroyer, sorry, and the hyperspace ring,
Yeah.
which
The
Adam
Eye
you
of
mentioned
Sion.
earlier, clinks onto it with just the tiniest,
Yeah.
tiniest little clamps. Like you don't want to secure that a little bit more, maybe? Jesus,
I will
That's, like,
say
barely hold
not to
on.
not to toot my own horn.
toot it, buddy.
This is where I thought they would leave it.
Just as them going back.
Yeah, I didn't think Ezra would be back. So I guess it's not just what I thought, but I thought, you know,
So they jump to hyperspace and then you get the bump ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-da-da-da.
no, I thought the next story
Yep.
starts whatever the next story is, a second season,
Right.
a
Movie.
feature film,
Yeah.
where the first act is them getting back to the galaxy that we
Sure.
know so
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
And I think that sets it up well, and you can have, you know, the whole Filoni-verse come together.
That's
with,
the idea. They already
yeah.
announced that. That's the idea.
Yeah,
But is there room for a second season before that movie? You know what I mean? I mean, it depends on what that story is. So I don't
I mean, I think there is,
Seems to be.
especially focused on like, you know, space whales are. As the resident biologist here, you know, space whales are like migratory and
Sure.
follow
Yeah. I think
patterns.
like
So.
they didn't really make it clear at the end. It's because they didn't say anything. It seemed like they were just like, all right, we're here forever now. But can't you
Nah.
just like just keep an eye out for space whales?
I would assume season 2 is them like figuring out what the hell Balin's doing and whatever Shin is doing,
Right.
and then at the end of season 2, they take a space whale out of there and meet up with everybody, and then we have the Thrawn movie.
right.
sorry. Well, sorry. Here's my only thought.
Do you talk first? Do I talk first?
Yeah.
How's this
That
work?
was good. Or there was every Disney Plus show that has had a second season or a spin-off of that show, I'm thinking Loki, I'm thinking Mando season 2, Book of Boba Fett, has in some way acknowledged it in either the final episode or a end credit scene. So I don't necessarily know if we're getting a second season.
Yeah.
I do have a question to pose to you guys, and it has to it's around Balin. We saw maybe 10 seconds of Balin.
Yeah. And 10 seconds of Shin at the same
Do
time.
you think?
To the point where I forgot that they were in
Yeah.
this show while watching this episode. I was like,
Do
oh,
you
yeah.
think that was the original ending, or do you think that was Balin's original ending?
I
Or
think
did
that
they?
was because
do.
I think if they knew that Ray Stevenson was going to pass, then they would not have left it as open-ended as they did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why? What do you think?
I guess my thought when I first saw that was they made some sort of change. Like his story continued and they pulled back and that Balin shot
sure.
is
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I can
now
see that.
I
So,
maybe-
you're saying you got the feeling that maybe the story was continued in a more of a specific way, but they pulled back on that because now they don't know if they can still do that, having the actor having passed.
yeah.
Right.
I guess that makes sense. I can see that being the case.
I mean, I guess it doesn't make sense for this show that has had these strong antagonists throughout the whole show, and you not 1% of the show was dedicated to
It was
and I'm not
strange.
and I'm not
I agree.
knocking him for it.
No, I agree.
It was strange.
It was strange because what we got, I felt, was a very satisfactory finale to this series. But when I think about it, I almost would have rather have it dealt more closely with, like we talked about at the very beginning of this, I almost would have rather had it been more focused on Balin and Shin and wrapping up that storyline and leaving the Thrawn thing more ambiguous than what we got, which was the opposite, where we still don't know what Balin Skull's ultimate goal was or his plan or what he's after, because he never came right out and said it, besides referencing a great power
Yeah.
or whatever he was talking about to Shin, and Shin is just seemingly going out to these like mercenary, whatever
Yeah,
they were.
Raiders or whatever
Raiders,
they call
yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Marauders.
So they're not even together.
Nomads.
There you go.
Nomads
Yeah.
is what they've been calling
Okay,
them.
so they're not even together at the end of this series, and now with Ray Stevenson passing, who knows if we're ever going to get any closure on Balin Skull's thing? And if we do, I feel like they're going to have to recast or
Yeah.
do it in animation or something. But
Yeah, I mean, I'm really hoping we're gonna get some Balin Skull like, animated
Tales of the Jedi type.
Tales
Yeah.
of the Jedi,
I would
Jedi
love
or
that.
something, because
yes,
coming out of the gates with the beginning of this show, I think the strongest performances and nobody's immediate favorite character ended up being Balin.
Yeah.
Right?
yeah, for sure.
His screen time is maximized. It's different, right? The medieval Jedi,
Yeah,
the not
so-
Jedi
right.
that clearly has a drive and a purpose and what they feel to be their own code of ethics and honor.
Yes,
Right. And we haven't seen that aesthetic. We haven't seen that look.
Right.
We know so much about them. They were there at Order 66 at the temple.
Yep.
They know that, we know that they have raised this Padawan with a traditional Padawan braid, but
Yeah.
Right.
not like the other Jedi.
using
Very
Jedi
speci-
teachings, but not as a Jedi. Yeah,
I trained you to be something more.
Something
Right.
more.
Yeah.
And there's so much character development, and all of a sudden, the rug is pulled out. So I can't help but feel the same way, as though they had a plan, and all of a sudden that plan changed. So
yeah.
Well, that's,
while it is
that's
the
what I was-
satisfactory ending, there's gotta be that
There's got to
had
be
to
something else with that character. Yeah.
Yes,
But think
impacted it.
about this, because they would have stopped recording months prior to Ray Stevenson
For sure.
passing.
Yeah.
So, think of this: if we didn't know Ray Stevenson had died, this would have been a perfect ending to set up next year, Ahsoka and Sabine versus whatever's going on with Shin and
season
figuring
2.
out Balin.
You're right. You're right.
If
they did,
we had no knowledge of Ray Stevenson passing, this would have been exactly where we wanted to end it.
and
You've
that's
got
that,
Hera
and that might have been the original intention, to have a second season take place on Peridia,
right,
with is just Sabine and Ahsoka figuring out what Shin and Balin are up to.
right,
And I guess that still could happen, but we'd have to recast at this
recast.
point,
and-
which I think is fine if they need to do that.
Yeah.
And I think because I think Balin has become a lot of people's favorite character, or a fan favorite character,
Right,
a fan
in the
favorite
show,
villain
yeah.
for sure.
in this show, because of everything that you just said. It's he's different, he's interesting, he's taken a different approach, and we don't know that much about him, but they've
And he knew Anakin.
and he knew Anakin, and they
In
hinted at stuff.
general,
Yeah.
I mean that
Yeah.
that shows a certain big shift and change.
Yeah.
It's not like I was kind of
Right,
a
right.
Jedi.
They hinted at enough stuff that made us really care about this character and want to know more about him, and it's a tragedy that Ray Stevenson has passed. But I do hope they're able to continue this character's
Yeah.
storyline, because they did a lot of good work to get it to where it was, to get it to where they got it.
How cool were those closing scenes with him in the
Yeah, the
statue?
two
Like
giant.
there was some
So
Lord of the
cool.
Rings
Yeah.
vibes.
Yeah.
Did anyone get maybe on I'd have to go back and look at it a second time, but maybe the father and the son
100%.
from the Mortis?
Oh my
Yeah.
God. Yes. I didn't
So
even
that
think about
was
that, but
when,
yes.
when he kept referring to a higher whatever, we've had all the allusions of Ahsoka being the daughter from Clone Wars,
Well,
and then
in
it's
less than
hmm,
illusions, really. We even got what's the owl
Right.
called?
Morai.
Yes,
Morai,
thank
yeah.
you. And we know that the daughter put, spoiler alert,
I have never
life
put that
force
together
into-
before. I've never
Really?
put that together before, that
Okay.
Ahsoka is symbolic of the daughter
Yeah.
because of the more. Oh my God.
she is the daughter now.
Mike's mind just got blown.
Yeah,
if
you're
you're
right,
not
because-
watching
oh
this,
And what did
Ah.
the father
Wow.
say to Anakin?
Matt, keep watching Clone Wars.
What
keep
did
it
he
up.
say to Anakin?
I don't know. I just watched that episode though, but I don't know what he said. What did he say, Adam? Adam, what did he
Oh,
say?
God, I can't remember now. I was hoping one of you guys would know it.
but yeah, I
He
mean,
basically
and
alludes to this is your fate.
right, exactly.
yeah.
And then because Anakin is the he's
He
the
is-
father, and then
He's
Well, I feel like
Yeah.
Anakin is the brother.
No, the brother was like was the dark sider seeking out the mother. The father was holding both in check.
Mm-hmm.
So Balin is effectively playing the brother searching for the or the mother,
okay.
who in Legends, the mother was Abeloth, which was this force being that was like,
Is
Yeah,
that,
there's this whole
is that
thing.
death incarnate? Is that the one?
Effectively, yeah.
Okay, because I heard that could be a theory about this.
How you doing, Matt?
I heard that could be a theory about this with like going into Peridia.
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 With yes.
You hold on out there? Everyone with us still?
Everyone's still there. Good. I heard that could be a theory because it's just like the rings around the planet are made of death.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I was like, I'm not into the legends and EU. But,
Yet.
There were a lot of books you had to read to get to that one.
Oh man.
But yeah, I mean,
Keep watching,
if
bud. Keep watching.
if
It's
this
so good.
ends up being some sort of arc tying in the mother, it's like that'll be way out there, and also perfect for what we're like where we're set up for this season 2.
Yeah. And also, like, again, this Ahsoka show is kind of Rebels season 5.
Yeah.
And that plays a big part in Rebels season 4.
Yeah.
Everything that we were just talking about. So it would make sense for that to extend into what is more or less more Rebels.
Now,
Yeah.
the other thing with you two, since you've played the Jedi : games, yes,
Take a seat, Matt.
Jedi :
The Jedi colon game.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
Jedi Musil. Yeah, we're here. But the Zepho,
Yes.
how do they tie into all this? Because
Mhm.
there's been some
Remind me
serious
what the
allusions.
Zepho are.
That alien species that they find all the ruins from and have all the triangle shaped heads and shit, and
Still drawing a blank. Triangle.
what's his face?
Heads.
The guy.
Cal Kestis is on where you have to fight like the big frog things. What are
Right.
they called? Crap.
God, it's
Fallen
been too
Order
long.
or Survivor?
I haven't played.
It's tied into both, but Fallen Order.
Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say.
The first.
Where he's
I've
got to
played
climb that
Survivor.
giant tree.
Planet. You go down into the dungeon where you're rolling the balls around and all that, and that's all Zepho architecture. And
Oh,
in
okay.
Survivor, it gets tied in even more. Like,
Okay, I think I know what you're talking about.
yeah, it's like this old alien race that,
Yeah.
like a lot of the Night Sister stuff looks very Zepho-y.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of fan theories out there about like that somehow tying into all this
Yeah.
and them making everything kind of mesh. So
Cool.
I'll
Alright.
I'll be interested where that ends up.
Right.
You know, gotta tie everything into a nice happy bow.
You don't have to, but people like
People
to.
always want to.
People always want to.
Is there time for an Ahsoka season 2?
I think so. I think if they keep it on Peridia, I mean they don't even have to because like well
No,
like let's
I'm sorry to interrupt. I mean like
Physical.
Time.
in our time. Say they're making this movie and it's gonna come out in 2027.
yeah
You know, we still have Mando season 4. We have Skeleton Crew. We have, you know,
Well-
it took 2 years to make this show.
yeah.
Is it, and it's gonna take a year and a half, 2 years
I
to make the fit. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Like, is it,
I think it depends on now that the writer's strike is over. Depends on how long Dave Filoni is going to take to write the movie, because I'm sure he wasn't finished with it. When they announced it, there's no way
Right.
he was. I don't think he was finished with it. So he's got to write it, and he's got to finish all his other writing, whatever else he's writing for Lucasfilm right now, which is maybe Mando season 4. I think that's probably
I
written
mean,
already. But
we
he's
all
probably
know
doing
Mando season 4
pop-up.
could hypothetically be Sabine, since season 3 was
Yeah, you're
Bo-Katan.
right. Yeah, you're right.
So
Yeah, no one knows what season 4 is going to be
Right.
of that show.
they said the
Um,
Mandalorian. They never specified which.
I think
one.
if they want to make time for a season 2, I think it's more of what they want to do and where they need all the pieces to be before that movie happens. So, like, if they need, I mean, just to wrap up the episode, we see Thrawn going to Dathomir at the end of this episode,
Yep.
as we see Ezra stealing a shuttle and
returning
getting back to
the fleet.
The fleet, yeah. Hera and Chopper
Who-
recognizes
he
the movie, which is
magically
great.
knows how to get.
Yeah,
to
how did he know how to get there?
wherever
I
they
don't know. That's
Whatever.
some
Because it's Rebels
Stasis.
season
Star
5.
Wars logic. Yeah, yeah. But I think they're plotting it out. They know what they need to build. If they've I don't know if they've even greenlit. If they've announced a Filoni movie, they're saying you're going to do this. It's going to be the culmination of all these shows. They know what they need to do before they get to that movie. You know what I mean? So that movie's not dated yet. So they can date that movie whenever they need to date it. If they need to give us another season of Ahsoka in order to set up the movie, then they will.
Yeah, because
So-
I had heard the 27 as well, but I think that was more of just a rumor or like a
Sure.
put it on the.
And I'm
Put it
sure
on the
it's been
chalkboard.
pushed
And
back.
who knows,
I mean,
yeah,
if-
everything's
if
gonna
the
get
Rey
pushed now
movie,
that-
it was
Yeah.
originally 2025. That's what it was.
Yeah.
The Ray movie was originally 2025,
Yep.
and it was pushed back to the spring, and they wanted to do 2 movies in a year. Which, remember, we had that discussion
yeah,
about
that's right.
Solo and
Last
Last
Jedi.
Jedi
yeah.
so close to each other.
I
Yeah.
think if they've learned anything, I hope they've learned that they shouldn't rush it,
Right.
right? To
Right.
tell a good story.
Yeah.
Make something that doesn't suck.
Right. Like if you make something that doesn't suck, we're gonna be there for it.
Right.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
going no matter
Now,
what.
to be fair, the 4 of
be
us are going
fair.
to be there no matter what.
Yeah, opening weekend.
Yeah. We're all going together,
Yeah.
likely.
Should we plan that podcast now?
Yeah,
It's
sure.
already in the books.
Yeah.
I now know how to set it up, so we're good to go. Anytime
excited
you guys want to do
excited for whatever happens next, though.
Oh, yeah.
It's gonna be great.
Yeah, it will be. So what is the next piece of Star Wars that we know we're getting? Skeleton Crew?
Yes.
But we don't there's no date for that, right?
I think it was originally supposed to be December.
Right.
Um,
Who knows if that got pushed
Right.
because of strikes or whatever.
Right.
I would guess between. I mean, we've seen no media for it
Nothing.
whatsoever.
I can't imagine it's
Not
coming out in
even-
December.
Not even a screen grab
Yeah.
or a week.
At this point I can't imagine that it's
Yeah.
December because we're in early October.
I say you get the Super Bowl push. It's spring.
Sure.
You know.
Yeah.
That might make sense. And Andor season 2 was filming.
Yes, they were they shut down when the strike started.
Right,
Yeah.
which was a weird thing because they were filming in the UK, but they have
Right.
ties to WGA and,
Yeah,
and SAG. And,
But Tony Gilroy is an American, so he ended up
Right.
shutting it down because he's the showrunner and couldn't
Yeah.
really work on it. Yeah, it didn't feel comfortable.
but I guess I thought I remember them saying they were near the end of principal photography.
oh, I don't
but,
remember that. Oh, okay.
I may
Yeah,
be
they were
wrong.
pretty.
Yeah, but
they
I
were
guess
pretty
I thought it-
relatively
yeah.
far along.
yeah, but I'm sure post on any Star Wars thing is going to take
Sure.
a lot because you got to put in all those laser blasts or
Even with
whatever, you
something
know.
like Andor,
For sure,
that
yeah.
is
that is more grounded. Yeah,
yeah.
you still got to put in spaceships and shit. You know,
The Acolyte.
the acolyte.
The Acolyte.
Whoa. Okay,
That's-
is there a
that's
date for
in
the
Adam's
acolyte?
alley.
I
If
cannot
you're-
wait for
I was
this
going to
show.
say,
I'm
if you're
very
dealing
pumped.
with a dark side focused show, then yeah,
I
here
am
we are.
also very pumped for the acolyte. Is there a date for the acolyte?
It's just 24.
Okay, so
So,
next year.
yep.
So we'll get. I mean, I know we're not getting a movie for a long time, so we'll get Skeleton Crew probably first, and then the acolyte.
That yeah,
That's my guess.
because the other two, Acolyte and Andor 2, were supposed to be 24
Oh,
even
man.
before. So
This is already more Star Wars
Now,
stuff. than
I
was
don't know
thinking of,
if
and I'm
you
very
guys have
excited about it.
seen the. So, you're very. I give you a lot of credit on this. You're very.
Thank you.
Already,
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Before you even say it, thank you.
You're very disciplined to not watch Celebration or Comic-Con videos of trailers that are
oh, the grainy shit
The-
trailers.
the-
Oh,
green-
okay, yeah.
yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, I watch all that stuff. What are you talking about?
Right.
No, if
Like
it's
the
not
Hall
officially
exclusives,
released,
yeah.
I won't watch it. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
If it's like a cell phone video of somebody filming a screen, I'm like, nah. I'm
Sure.
gonna wait till it's like
Uh,
high
There's
quality.
there's a couple things in a certain like level that I would watch that kind of stuff for, but
sure.
You watched
for the-
all of Spider-Man: No Way Home like that.
Yeah.
more,
Oh,
right?
I
Yeah.
did.
I think I got that for you.
you did,
I
and
remember.
I don't know if it
I believe it looked like a potato.
Yes, it
is what
did.
you described
Yes,
it
that was
as.
the
100%.
description, Yeah.
I mean, I found it on a street.
Yeah. Anything
Oh,
else?
I thought you had a
Say
follow up on
something,
that.
Adam.
All right. Any closing thoughts about the series finale or season finale, I should say, of Ahsoka? I don't want to say series finale if we don't know. Any closing thoughts before we wrap this up?
No, I think it was a wonderful Star Wars. It helped move a lot of stories forward. I think if anyone's I think it's easy to look at it and say it didn't really move Ahsoka's story forward.
Yeah.
But it did so well, just so slowly in the middle of the season, right? She worked through her issues with Anakin
Yeah, I
becoming
mean-
Darth Vader and moved to Ahsoka the White,
Right.
Yes.
It didn't.
right?
It didn't move her story forward, but it cleaned up all of that backstory.
Yeah,
I think
she
it
has
moved
less
her
baggage.
forward, though.
It moved. Yes,
you know,
it
like
moved her as a character
it didn't move her
forward.
like greatly forward, but it was like a good story still.
100%.
And that's all. Like, I don't really care about like, as long as you give me a good story with like
Yep.
good character development. Like, this
Mhm.
was more of a character development series
Right.
than it was a let's fight a new battle against a new fascist regime, which is what we're gonna get when the movie comes out or whatever. When the movie that's all these shows together. But I don't need every Star Wars to be some grand battle for the universe. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
Andor wasn't that, and that's like my favorite thing in like a long time.
I was going to say. I think we've
Yeah.
all been pining for make good shows.
Just make
that
something
don't-
good. Just tell us a good story
Yeah.
with characters that we love, and
Yeah.
that's what this was.
And
I
that's
think.
that's what this did, right? It
Yeah.
gave us two more characters that we now love with Shin and Balin.
Yep.
Yep.
It like reintroduced in live action Thrawn, which is so cool,
Yeah.
right? It,
And Ezra and Hera and Sabine all in live action
Yeah,
for the
and
first time. It was
Chopper,
great. Chopper,
like-
for
Yeah.
God's sake.
right?
Yes.
It-
Dude,
it
Chopper,
was-
Chopper, when he was looking at Ezra, like
That was great.
the noise, like it was just perfect. It was like
Yeah.
yeah,
he's just side eye.
kinda- I
you
kinda-
could see him droid side eyeing
Yeah.
him. Like
I wish
don't
that
know."
Ezra had just gotten down even before he took his helmet off and just like hugged Chopper. Like that would have been amazing. I would have loved that
Yeah.
more.
these were the
For
most
sure.
Star Wars like reunions ever.
Yeah.
No one just ran screaming into each other's arms like
Yeah,
they
yeah,
would
yeah.
have in real life.
Yeah.
Right.
Any of them.
Yes.
Yep.
It was a very Star Warsy show in
Yes.
general. It was very Star Warsy, more so than Andor, more so than the first like season or two of Mandalorian, which is like
Yep.
a Western. The third season of Mandalorian is like crazy,
Whatever
like
that
Clone
is.
Wars
Yeah.
sequel. But yeah, this was a straight up Star Wars show from beginning to end, but done in a way that I loved and was like felt
Yeah.
right. You know,
Oh,
wasn't
100%.
trying too hard.
One thing we forgot to mention that I thought was pretty cool, and now that I think of it, I think it's even cooler, is one of the last shots we see is Sabine looking off into the sky, and she thinks she sees something.
Yes.
Shadows in the starlight.
Shadows in the star, yeah, and but she can't see it. But then, a lot like Last Jedi, where you see that blue tint, and
Yeah.
you're like, I
Ahsoka
know-
looks out and
Yeah.
Ahsoka sees him, I think.
yeah, and it was interesting how he looked. He didn't have the scar on his eye.
Yeah.
He was very late Clone Wars
Yeah.
Anakin.
Mhm.
I like that.
Yeah.
I pose this question maybe to all three of you or maybe two of you. Does the appearance of Hayden Christensen as Anakin in Ahsoka, does that make Hayden Christensen's appearance as Anakin in Return of the Jedi make more sense?
Yeah, I think it does.
Yeah.
And I think that's why they made that, like, she says you look younger or
Okay.
whatever, because she would not expect him to look younger. She would expect him to look like an old
Eggman.
guy.
Right.
Yeah.
What does Sam call him?
Cantaloupe head.
Cantaloupe head. That's what it was. I was thinking
Okay.
Eggman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're
Eggman would work also.
we're sitting in Return of the Jedi and like it's the most emotional part, and I hear Sam goes, "Well, here comes Cantaloupe head."
Yeah. Yeah.
So great.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, it also, I feel like they were kind of forced to do that because
Yeah.
Lucas put him as young Anakin at the end of Return of the Jedi.
Yep.
So they're like, okay, well, I guess we have to do that as well. But easier for us to do that because we still have Hayden Christensen, and we can just, do some computerizing on his face
Right.
and make him look 10 years younger, 15 years younger, or whatever. So, yeah, I think it makes more sense, even though I don't think it makes sense in the first place. But you know what? Similar to my opinion of Rise of Skywalker, that's just what happened. So you might as well sit back and enjoy it.
That's what happened.
That's what happened. Nothing we can do about it.
I'll take as much Anakin Skywalker as I can get. I love him.
Yeah, I do love that this show was able to reintroduce live action Anakin Skywalker in a way that
He deserved to be treated.
he deserved to be treated. Exactly. Thank you for saying that. And it gives us access to more Anakin Skywalker when I kind of thought we would never be able to see him again, And because he's such an important character, the light side of him is such an important character that I don't know. I'm grateful to this show for being able to bring him back into the fold in a way that was more powerful than like him showing up for one scene in Obi-Wan in like a training session or whatever, and then being Vader. Like I also love him returning as Vader. If they want to bring him back as Vader, yes, awesome. But being able to see his face and see his emotional connection to somebody he's connected to, like Ahsoka, is such a bigger deal to me and makes so much. Yep, and makes so much more sense.
Yes.
So I'm grateful to this show for being able to do that.
I
bring him
agree,
back to us.
because when you think about it, we really only got half a movie of Hayden Christensen as fully grown
Yes.
Anakin Skywalker. Jake Lloyd, and then he was the sort of teenage prick in
Yes.
Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
And we got even less of that of Hayden Christensen with good dialogue.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And it was cool to see, and I spent a lot of time on social media, and to see the response he's gotten in Ahsoka, that he's gotten at Celebration last year. I mean, it's really good for him.
Yeah.
You
for sure.
know, and good for the the fandom for finally giving him his his due.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a fitting last shot of this series.
Yeah.
I think,
Oh, absolutely.
because of the shadow he hangs over Ahsoka, the title character.
This is 2 Star Wars shows that end with a Force ghost.
What's the other one that ended with the Force Ghost?
Obi-Wan.
With Qui-Gon's Force
Oh
Ghost.
yeah, that's right. Oh yeah. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're
And
right.
I'm kind of loving it.
Yeah, me too.
Quite
well,
fitting in both cases.
Yeah, I agree. Well done. I think that's all I got. Is that anyone else got any final thoughts about the season finale of Ahsoka?
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah,
appreciate
no.
it.
Absolutely.
Big thanks to Adam Karki and Matt Paseda for
thank
joining
you very
us
much.
tonight.
This is a great thrill.
Yeah, this was a blast. We'll have to do it again sometime
Absolutely.
for more Star Wars conversations. You want to wrap this up?
Yeah, sure. If you're still somehow hanging in there at the hour 23 mark, because
Woo!
this is the Multiverse Report. we
Yeah.
rant.
We go
Um,
long here, people. That's what we do.
Yeah, check us out on social media, the Multiverse Report. Check us out on any of your podcasts. I was going to say viewers, but you don't really view a podcast.
Listeners,
whatever.
feeds, wherever you're
Podcast,
listening.
podcatchers of choice, the Multiverse Report, YouTube. Leave us a review. Apple Podcasts, leave us a review. 5-star review would be even greater.
That'd be best.
Helps us out quite a nice amount. I'm on a roll with this.
You're crushing it. We've been talking a long time. It's
So
fine.
yeah, either way, look us up. Hell, Google us. We'll
Yeah.
be there.
Any of those things.
Yeah, that's what I got.
All right. Well, thanks to Adam and Matt again for joining us tonight. Thanks to Steve, as always. And until next time, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And we'll see you in the multiverse.